Hey folks, welcome back. Hope you're doing well out there. I was recently practicing and talking with a peer of mine, a coach that I get coached from as well, that I practice with. And we were kind of just comparing notes on where we find, and we coach in very different niches. He's not a psychedelic therapist, he's a completely different kind of coach from me. But we started to compare notes and we started to talk about where people are most commonly underdeveloped or what they need to have in place in order to even begin the process of change, healing, growth, transformation, etc. So in this video, what I want to share with you are the two things that he and I identified together, which if you've been a watcher on the channel here for a while, you might already know, but if you're new to the channel, and I know there's a lot of you that are new subscribers, this is key information you're absolutely going to want to know. So yeah, there are a couple skills you need in place that make therapy or personal development work or even psychedelic therapy much, much, much more effective and easy. And I would even go so far as to say is if you don't have these skills in place, and the brutal truth is most people are underdeveloped in these areas, if you don't have these, it's going to be very hard for you to grow and change and heal. So without further ado, let's talk about and identify what these are. And then that'll be the video. So really quickly here, like I said, this is something I've noticed as a pattern, with most of my clients. So what I'm going to share here, most of my clients have already heard, right? Most of my clients get both of these from me very directly as major teaching points along the way. So if you're a client of mine, you already know this stuff. But if you're curious, what are some of the things I teach my clients, or what are some of the things you're going to need in order to effectively get the most out of whether it's coaching or a good therapy relationship or psychedelic therapy, there are two major things you need to cultivate. The first one is you're going to need to be able to access, we could call it an observer state, where you can observe your own experience, or a bit of detachment from yourself might be another way to put it. Another way to put it would be going meta on yourself, or seeing your own thoughts, seeing your own emotions without being totally identified with them, mildly disidentifying with some of your stuff enough to be able to observe it, right? Or being mindful. I think these are all synonyms. These are all different ways to describe the same thing, but you're going to need this capacity. If, in other words, if you're someone who totally identifies with every thought and every emotion that runs through your mind and runs through your body without any sense of distance or separation, in other words, you're identified with and taking personal and reacting to everything that occurs inside of you, right? Then you're going to have a very hard time healing or changing or growing, right? Because the reason why is technical. I could make a whole other video about it, but long story short, it makes it very hard. So this is why mindfulness is so often emphasized and exaggerated and encouraged in the therapy space. This is why over the last 20 years, along with the science, we have heard this explosion and recommendation of therapy or mindfulness for therapy. It's because it's really, really hard to do therapy without mindfulness, right? So if you want to heal, if you want to grow, if you want to change, work at mindfulness, work at accessing observer mode, work at going meta, however you want to think of this. This is something you can do through meditation, something you can do through thought experiments. This is also something you, quite frankly, can train yourself through psychedelic experiences, although sometimes that's the hard way. That's kind of how I first learned it. So I know that that's another way to do this. Uh, so that would be the first one. The second one that I would highly recommend is the ability, and this kind of overlaps with the first one here, but it's actually a separate skill, the ability to question and challenge and evaluate your own thoughts, your own emotions, your own belief systems, your own rationalizations and conclusions, right? The ability to not take everything that moves through your attention personally and seriously, right? So there are different ways we could think about this, but essentially we need to start to be able to challenge our own perceptions. We need to be able to understand that the way we perceive is not one-to-one accurate with reality, that there's a layer of interpretation between my perceptions and reality, right? And we need to start to become aware of that layer of interpretation, be responsible about it and responsible for it, and willing to challenge and evaluate and explore it. See, one of the biggest mistakes, the most common issues that people have is that they think that their perception of reality is objective. that it's totally clear, that it's without bias, that's without projection, that's without misinterpretation, that their perception of reality is whole and complete, right? That they're not missing any data, that their conclusion making couldn't possibly be flawed, right? These are big mistakes to make. This is what gets us in trouble, right? So you want to be able to really start to look at your own perceptions. And, this doesn't have to be a dramatic, painful thing, but have the skill. It's actually very liberating and very fun to start to challenge the assumptions in your own worldview, in your own perceptions, in your own value system, in your own conclusions, in your own cultural conditioning that you were raised with, that you just kind of passively took in and agreed with and never thought about, right? All of this stuff needs to be game for exploration, and you have to be willing to uh, call it into question, right? And sure, this can be a little uncomfortable in moments, but done properly, what my clients find is often this is actually fascinating and liberating and opening and profound and beautiful. And you know, one way of thinking of this is that the mistake is thinking that our perceptions and our conclusions and our thinking and our emotions are accurate and objective and our reality itself, right? That we accurately are in touch with reality itself, right? And I could break down exactly why this isn't exactly the case, that there's actually so many layers of subjectivity between your perception and actual reality, right? But the thing is, you just want to start to account for that and be responsible for that, because often it's these distortions in thinking, these distortions in belief, the kind of ways that we kind of misperceive, that are so much at the heart of our issues, or what perpetuates our issues, or why we have triggers, or what our wounds are, et cetera, right? So to be able to see that stuff, to be able to look at these assumptions built into our worldview, start to question them and challenge them and explore them, is a huge, massive key that unlocks your ability to heal and grow and change, right? Again, without these two things, mindfulness and the ability to kind of be responsible for the subjectivity of your own experience and separate that from reality, and not confuse your subjective experience with, with what is, to be able to separate those out. So these two things, mindfulness and responsibility for that, these are the prerequisites to heal and grow and change. For a lot of my clients and for a lot of people that I work with, this is often where you kind of need to go first. This is often, if you don't have these in place, you got to start to build a sense of both of these things, because it's not really going to be effective work until you have these abilities, right? This is something you really don't hear a lot of like therapists talking about, for example, or even a lot of coaches. There are a lot of coaches who learn this stuff in their coaching training. Like they learn that, about perception and value systems and how we map these on reality, but it's not the same thing as reality. You learn this, right? But they often don't tell you this. They don't teach you this. They use it as a tool with you the whole time you're getting coached, but they don't teach it to you, right? And I really think you should know how to think in this way for yourself, so that you have, kind of teach a man to fish here, so that you know how to, heal yourself, liberate yourself, right? So these are the two major things you're going to need first. I hope that makes a lot of sense. Please let me know down below. Do you resonate with this? Is this news to you? Is this totally familiar? Already heard it from me before? I'd love to hear your thoughts about this. We're going to wrap the video here for now. I've got more content on the way, but just thought I'd share that with you, because again, this is one of these foundational key things that I think a lot of people can miss out on. So much love. Take care. I'll talk to you guys soon.